All right, what up, people? It's your boy Chig from Gooner Eagle Eye. As promised, giving you yet again another edition of the Gooner Eagle Eye Show. Episode 8. This is going to be pretty much part 1. As I told you, I'm going to aim for 3 parts today. One in the morning in terms of how things currently stand, in terms of transfer stories that are going around and, things like that are happening at the moment. And just really kind of my general thoughts. So this will be, this is not going to be like a flyby episode. This will be a decent kind of discussion in terms of how I feel the transfer window has gone so far for Arsenal as well as for other clubs. So just my brief thoughts on other clubs. Part 2 of episode 8 will literally be done in a few hours' time. That will be really just about kind of midway through deadline day, how I feel. My brain's gone. How I feel that, so far, how I feel the deadline day is going for certain clubs, what signings are about to happen, what if any on the verge of being completed. Then I'm going to try and see if I can see if they're both available or either one of them are available. And you guys seem to like our mid transfer window episode so much. I'm going to see if I can do an. Hoping it won't be too late for the guys, because I am conscious of the fact that just because I have the week off doesn't mean that others do. So I'll see if they're available, and we'll see if we can have a quick summing up of the transfer window as they'll probably give their opinions on Man United, on Liverpool, and generally who they feel has done the best business so far. Anyway, in terms of cracking on with this, so as things stand at the moment, you guys know the deals that have been done, particularly by Arsenal. So for those who are living under the rock, Premier League flexing their muscles once again, showing that they have money, and we, as a Premier League, have spent into £1 billion, £1 billion, just over actually. That is an amazing amount of money for the Premier League. 1 billion in any stretch is an amazing amount of money. And just as a transfer window, it just shows that are willing to do what it takes to win this Premier League and to be successful. I think the one thing that Leicester winning the Premier League has done is shown that, by spending cleverly and spending in the right areas, that anything is possible. And I think in turn it's given lots of people and lots of teams hope that they can achieve that goal, as cheesy as it sounds, but it's the magnitude of Leicester's achievement. So I mean, for a club who are notoriously as tight as Arsenal to spend the amount of money that they have, to spend nearly 100 million on players, and we're considered to be a club that hasn't. We're not even the biggest spending club, but for us to spend nearly 100 million on players, money, and they're letting go. In terms of how I feel has gone, let's be honest, it's been a shit show. It's been a shit show. I do not like our strategy whenever it comes to these. I'm a huge fan of it, just because I feel like we look like a bunch of clowns more often than not when we are doing these windows. Feel like, I mean, we started off so well. As last year, we started off so well. We spent a huge amount of money around a period of time with Kante. But I'll be honest, I still believe He would have represented a massive upgrade. With all due respect to Francis, he would have been a massive upgrade on Coquelin. He just would have been. All right, he went for 33 million at the time, but I can't help but think what would have been. Having said that, if you're not going to get Kante, I think Xhaka is proving to be. I think he'll show why Wenger opted for him as opposed to Kante. I think Kante is the best in the league, probably one of the best in the world at what he does, which is basically, gosh, I sound like a Chris Jericho promo. he's you non-wrestling fans won't get that reference. Don't worry. Yeah, he is essentially someone who goes in there, breaks up the play, and plays very simple passes. I think a job like that is very underrated. Because I think if there's one thing Coquelin is very good at doing, he's very good at breaking up passes. The only problem I feel with Coquelin where he struggles is two areas: passing the ball and anticipation of the ball. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, hold on, you just said he's good at breaking up the play. I think he's a good tackler. You know, I don't think he can read the game, but I think he's a good tackler. And I think he can't read the game that well, and that's why he plays some of the stray passes he plays, which is why I think Kante would have been a better option, because Kante, for me, has more presence than Coquelin, is a better passer of the ball than Coquelin, and it's just a slightly more it's just a little bit more intelligent football-wise. But you know, it is what it is. And to be honest with you, more than anything, I would have been glad, because it would have represented, had we bought Kante in addition to Xhaka, it would have represented some ruthlessness from Wenger, which I would have really enjoyed, I must admit. But c'est la vie, it didn't happen. He went to Chelsea for 33 million. Brilliant signing by Chelsea. You know, Chelsea loved them type of players. Makaleli, Matic, them. And bear in mind, they still have Matic. So I just felt like, you know, if, say, Matic is their Xhaka, he would have been a... Having said that, you know, I feel like in that centre, we've got three players who are capable of playing. So Xhaka can drop a bit deeper if necessary. Coquelin, I think, alongside a Xhaka or potentially a Santi if Xhaka is ever rested or is injured. Who for 5 billion, I don't care, is going to be a good player. He's a good player. So I think we're all right. For once, our DM is utterly stable. That we quickly. Weeks later, my gosh, I've mentioned this numerous amounts of times before, but we went for Jamie, and I've said it before, whilst I wasn't overly excited by the prospect of Vardy, just because, in my opinion, I think he could play. It sounds ridiculous to say about someone who scored 24 goals this season and has already scored this season. And that, the view, it's just, in my opinion, necessarily think, and I said this at the time and I'll say it again, I don't necessarily think he would suit the way Arsenal play. If we were a high-pressing, counter-attacking team, I absolutely understand what, you know, the reason we'd go after Vardy. I didn't understand what he'd really bring to us. Having said that, what I was really excited about at the time was the fact that we were being aggressive. We identified for once, none of this Luis Suarez nonsense. We identified for once what the release clause was, paid the money, no messing around, no nothing. Went to Leicester and say, right, there's your 22. Now give us Vardy to speak to. My gut feeling on the Vardy situation was I felt like he wouldn't be brave enough to take that challenge. I know pundits have said very recently, oh well, if that was United that came in for him, or a Chelsea that came in for him, would he have made the same decision? And you know what? Quite possibly not. But at the same time, I guess you have to consider as a player, all right, I've just won the Premier League title with Leicester. I am damn near worshipped at this club. Why would I leave? And I get that point of view. I really get that point of view. Why would he leave? From our point of view, it was a disappointment that we didn't get him, but it was more the fact that Jamie Vardy then ended up turning us down. As I predicted at the time, I felt like he just wouldn't leave. I felt like the pull of Leicester would be too much. My issue with the whole Vardy situation is, how did you not have a plan B? Obviously, it came to light that what we then found out was that they did have a plan B, but it took a long time to implement that plan B. So their plan B was then Lacazette, who for some unusual reason, after seeing West Ham bid 31 million, who we've now later found out that West Ham went up to 40 million, for some deranged reason, Wenger thought it'd be a good idea to sanction a 29 million pound bid for Lacazette, who incidentally is now killing it in the French league. Oh gosh, Wenger. Obviously, Leon told us to suck our mum and rejected that shit, and then I don't know what happened. It's like then it didn't even try to raise his bid, even try to go to 40 million or do something. He kind of just accepted it. And I'll say it again, Lyon are notoriously a difficult club. They have a difficult president. Everyone is aware of this. Why you wouldn't just come to them correct and just say, you know what, here's the money, there you go. It's just beyond me. It's beyond comprehension for me. And it's these type of things that kind of makes me question the strategy at Arsenal. You know, I watched a very interesting video on Arsenal Fan TV with a football agent. If you haven't checked it out, go check it out. It's a good watch. It really is. And he was explaining to Robbie about kind of not because apparently he's an Arsenal fan, so he kept claiming during the video, and he kept kind of trying to explain the intricacies of how you conclude a deal, how you conclude the kind of time it takes to conclude a deal. And Robbie was making a point that I've made on this very channel, which was, how is it that Arsenal don't have some sort of director of football or a sporting director? At which point he said, well, technically, Dick Law is our sporting director. Some 82-year-old fan is our sporting director. And I'm just like, oh, it's just those type of things that just make you just shake your head. Like, of course, because why wouldn't Dick Law, the man who insults Arsenal's fans, why wouldn't he be the footballing director? Well, why wouldn't he? Just things like that just make you. It just makes you shake your head. Like, just anonymous people. That's the only way I can describe it. Anonymous people. Um, I personally just wish that we had a proper structure in place, not Dick Law, just potentially another minion that Arsene Wenger employed. You know, just someone who has a proper formal title and does the things that they need to do. These are the types of problems that Arsenal fans have with the club, because it just seems like we rest on our laurels when it comes to signings. How you say to yourself, just from a strategic point of view, forget signings. Forget signings. Say if I wanted to sell a car, right? I have a value for what I want to sell this car for. Let's say it's a Golf Mark 4. Now, you guys might think I'm crazy when I say this, but let's say I wanted to sell a Golf Mark 4 for 800 quid. Now, generally, maybe I'm being stubborn, but I want 800 quid. I think it's more than worth it for a Mark 4, right? Now, I probably should say Mark 3 because I don't know why I would sell one Mark 4 for so cheap. But let's just say a Mark 4, right? 800 quid. I feel like that's more than worth it for a Mark 4. So I want to stick to 800 quid. West Ham are the one buyer who've come the closest to my asking price. They've said that they want it for 700 quid. I've said, I'm sorry, no, I'm not selling it for a penny less than 800 quid. Arsenal come along and think, you know what? Forget that 700 quid. So I'm thinking, cool, they're going to come higher than that, because why wouldn't you? They say, we'll give you 500 quid, innit? Sorry, what? All right, we'll give you 500 quid, because you know it's us. What do you mean it's you? I don't know you, stuff. Why would I sell it for 500 quid when I've told you I'm not selling it for less than 800 quid? I've used this Tesco example before, I'll use it again. If I go to Tesco and I say to them, boy, £1.20 is too much for milk, I'll give you 70p for it, they'll laugh me out the shop. It's just, the strategy is what I don't understand. It's the process that we have for these signings is the thing that I don't understand. It's the thing that frustrates me so much as an Arsenal fan. And frustrates a lot of other people. That's what people do not understand, is what is the mentality behind such a strategy? And if it is Dick Law that has that strategy, then I'm sorry, you're not good enough in that position, in my opinion. And for me, that is what I don't understand with that Lacazette deal. That Lacazette deal is the one deal that I don't care if you're an AKB or a WOB. Everybody would have united behind that one signing. Do you know what? In my opinion, and this is controversial, but I'll say it. Even if that was the one signing we made all summer, do you know? I don't care what any stray guy wants to say. Generally, as an Arsenal fan base, we would have all been somewhat satisfied. Honestly, I truly believe that. So why you wouldn't just go all out to get that striker, and instead you just let Leon make you look foolish when they came out with that statement, and just every Arsenal fan just collectively just shook their head like, oh, we're a bunch of laughing stocks, and you have idiotic Tottenham fans laughing at us, Tottenham fans for fuck's sake, laughing at us with the way we do business. It's ridiculous. But anyway, you move on from there. Whatever, fine. Then you look at the guy we ended up signing, which is Perez. Now, my one concern with Perez is this. We looked at him and then said, nah, he ain't good enough. Why did we go back for him then? Is it out of sheer desperation? Is it what people are saying is a panic buy? Now, from the things I've seen, he looks like a good player. and I've said it in my Perez video before, he looks like a Jamie Vardy type, but to me looks a little bit more intelligent. He looks a little bit more comfortable with the ball. I don't buy that Jamie Vardy is a ball dribbler. This guy looks like a ball dribbler. And for that reason, I think he's slightly more better suited to Arsenal than Vardy is. Is nippy, clearly has an eye for goal, has a mean left foot on him. He looks like a good player, but I think that is why people, even today, even right now, if you go on someone's Twitter, like DT's Twitter or Mems's Twitter or Troops' Twitter, all of them are like, oh, I'm still hoping for Manners. I'm still hoping for one more striker, because it's that kind of, everyone's just a little bit uneasy that, well, you didn't think he was good enough before, but now you suddenly do. And people are still hoping for that. I think there's zero chance of that. I think we're lucky enough that Arsenal spent the money that they have. I'll tell you what, my boy has said to me on many occasions, he has a simple rule. He don't trust rumors. He don't look at rumors. He don't trust shit until he sees them holding an Arsenal shirt. So if you asked him 4 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, Saka was going to be our only signing. If you asked him 4 weeks ago, he would have said, there is no way I'd expect more money. And you know what? I don't blame him for having that opinion, because that is tried and tested, typical Arsene Wenger. For whatever reason, he doesn't believe in spending money even when we need the thing. And to be honest, I know some people will think I'm being ridiculous when I say this, but heck, I'll stick to this. I think it's merely fan pressure that has almost forced Wenger and Arsenal's hand in this. Because quite frankly, they could not afford to not buy somebody. My gosh, it would have started a riot. So I think for us to buy him, and to buy him for 17.5 million, fine. You know, it's at least ticked a box. And I guess we're just going to have to find out if he is potentially going to be a Jamie Vardy or is going to be an Antonio Reyes. And for those of you who remember Antonio Reyes, we spent a very similar amount of money on him, and he was shit. So I'm hoping he is not an Antonio Reyes. And then defenders. Oh man, defenders. Where do I go with this? So defenders was identified as another position that we needed. And I guess with Wenger, and more often than not, and I've always said this, it's almost like you have to go against your natural instinct as an Arsenal fan. You almost have to hope, in quoted marks, but it's almost like that way. You almost have to hope that Arsenal players pick up an injury for Wenger to strengthen the squad. I felt like even with Gabriel and Mertesacker there, we needed a defender. We needed a world-class defender, someone who could sit alongside Koscielny and play football. Then we were very quickly linked with Rob Holding. That was our second signing, funny enough. And man, oh man, was I worried, because every single day I'd read more and more about this Holding. For some stupid reason, it took nearly 4 weeks to complete this deal. Every single day. And then we bought him, and then Wenger's narrative was very close to, oh, well, that's the defender we're buying. We're not going to buy anyone else. And I thought, so let me get this straight. You're going to buy a defender from the championship, from a team from the Championship, who, by the way, just got relegated. You can't be serious. And that was all I kept thinking. I kept thinking, this guy, please tell me you're not going to buy a defender. Gabriel's injury happened. And it was a shame for Gabriel. As bad as this sounds, and God, I don't wish injury on anybody. I don't care how much I hate a team of mine that I support. But I'll be honest, part of me felt a little bit of relief because then it forced Wenger's hand again. It forced Wenger to say, all right, well, I now need another defender of more experience this time because, you know, we're not going to be able to cope without one. And we were being linked with people like Koulibaly, who, to tell you the truth, still would have been my first choice. We were linked with Koulibaly. We were linked with that Jimenez guy from Atletico Madrid, who's himself is 21 years old. We're talking about a £56 million release clause for him. I thought there's no way Wenger's paying that. We were linked with Johnny freaking Evans. Oh my goodness. We were linked with Johnny Evans. I think the thing that started to worry people was that Mustafi, we were linked with very quickly. But then the longer it took for any sort of deal to happen, like Mustafi made it very clear very quickly that he wanted to come to Arsenal. But the longer this deal took, the longer it took, that there were lots of fees being talked about how it would be 26 million and it will rise to 30 million and this, that, and the other. And the longer it took, the more I thought, okay, this is not going to happen. And then Ashley Williams' deal happened, which, to tell you the truth, even now, even as we have Mustafi, I still say this. Do you know what? I think people would have been somewhat reassured if he went out and bought Ashley Williams, even at the age of 32, 33. Because he would have ticked the boxes of, okay, well, he's experienced. He's still a good player. I mean, he led Wales to the semi-finals, so he's still a good of the Euros. So he's still a good player. He could still give us at least a year or two of quality performances and can help nurture a Chambers or a Holding to potentially take over for him when he retires. So it just felt like a no-brainer, and Everton, power to them, very quickly just took him under the radar of Arsenal and spent 12 million doing so. I felt like personally we should have bought Williams 3 years ago, but when we didn't, for him to become available and for us to not do anything about it, it just seemed like a shame to me. It seemed like, I don't know, it felt like we missed a trick, to be perfectly fair. And then that went, and I started getting worried because I kept seeing these Johnny Evans stories. And the funny thing is, we were being linked with a £15 million bid for Evans, which I thought at the time was too much. But then we missed out on Williams, and then it became known that we were stalling on the Valencia deal. And then Valencia came out with a statement saying that they wouldn't sell Mustafi. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing Evans for £25 million. And I thought West Brom are taking the piss, but fair play to them. I try and get as much for him as I could as well. And apparently, I kept reading stories that Wenger was seriously considering spending 25 million on Johnny freaking Evans. And I thought, oh my gosh, we are looking like a calamity. We're looking like a hot mess right now. And then suddenly, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, those stories just stopped. And then the stories started coming out that Valencia were prepared to be more reasonable. They were prepared to talk to Arsenal, because apparently Mustafi just straight up went up to Valencia and said, look, I want to leave. you guys need this money. Just let me leave. It'd just be best for all parties concerned. And eventually we got him. Fair play to Valencia. They negotiated a higher fee, probably for us pissing around. And we got him for 35 million. And I agree with that guy, the agent on Arsenal Fan TV. I think if we hadn't been pissing about in the first place, we probably could have got him for at least 5 million less. But we've got him, and he became another major signing for us in a key area. And then you're probably thinking, well, all right, well, you've forgotten about two signings. You've forgotten about my Nigerian kid, Power Brat, to my Nigerian brother, and Asanono, so Nakwali and Asanowo. What can I say about those two? I don't know much about them. It does feel like that Japanese striker is a business deal. There's no other way of putting it. There's no other way of sugarcoating it. It does feel like a business deal. And the Nakwali deal just feels like a talent, albeit who may grow up to be an amazing talent. Oh, look at Iwobi. But we're probably not going to reap the benefits of that for another couple of years at least, you would have thought. And there you kind of have it. There's our transfer window in a nutshell. I guess you have to look at it from an Arsenal fan point of view. So I come back to my original statement. How do I feel Arsenal have done in the transfer window? If this is it, and I believe it is it, I believe this talk of madness on Twitter, I think you're kidding yourself if you think we're going to sign another player. But I think when all's said and done, all the smoke is cleared. How do I feel like we've done? I'd probably give our transfer window a C+. Because I think when you look at it, at the start of the season, what did we need? I think everybody could agree we needed a defender, a midfielder, preferably a defensive midfielder, and a striker. Now, are they the positions that I would have bought? So, are they the positions I would have bought for? Absolutely. The players that we've got in, are they the first choice players that I would have picked? No. You guys know this. If I had my choice and my way, and I could only bring in 3 players, it would have been a Koulibaly, it would have been a Kante, and it would have been a Lacazette. Having said that, and that would have made it an A transfer window for me. But when it's all said and done, and we've brought in a Mustafi, we brought in a Xhaka, who, fair play, looks like an amazing signing. And we brought in a Perez. And I sit back and I think, okay, so how do I feel our transfer window has gone? I would say a C+. And I would say a C+. People might think, oh, well, that's a bit harsh. Here's why I would rate it a C+. Because, yes, we have gone for the positions we've gone for. You know, we've got Mustafi, we've got Xhaka, we've got Perez. We've also got Holding. So from a point of view of, well, we needed a defender, we needed a midfielder, we needed a striker. And I tweeted this out earlier. If you look at it, we asked for a defender, we got 2. We asked for a midfielder. Technically, we got 2. If you think about the Kwali as well, all right, he's a youngster, but we got 2. We asked for a striker. As much as people are not going to like this, we got 2. Because let's face it, let's just say the worst has to happen and Wenger extends his deal. And I know that will be a nightmare scenario for a lot of people. But let's say he extends his deal. That means we've got 3 more years of this crap. Which means Wenger is only going to say when we need a striker and he doesn't buy one, oh, well, we've got Asanowo there. So we have to count him as a striker. We have to. So we asked for a striker, we've got 2. And for all we know, that Japanese guy could be an amazing striker. Who knows? Who knows at this point? I don't think so, but who knows? I'd love to be proved wrong. I desperately want to be proved wrong in his case. That's for damn sure. But so I think from a point of view of us ticking boxes, we've done that. My point is, and why I mark it down, is our strategy has been a failure to me. The way we've gone about our business so publicly failing. And for me, it's not a failure that Vardy turned us down. You know, the papers will spin shit the way they want to spin shit. They like beating up Arsenal, so they will. The way the media has turned it is that essentially everyone that we've been linked with, who's gone on to another club, have essentially turned us down, which is utter nonsense. The only player that you can essentially say that we put an offer on the table and he said no to was Jamie Vardy. Other than that, you can't tell me that we've been turned down left, right, and centre, because for us to be turned down left, right, and centre, we've had to have made an offer for all those people. So they like beating up Arsenal, so I'm not necessarily worried about that. You know, my point is that when Vardy did reject us, we didn't have an immediate plan B. And then the plan B we did have, we botched completely and spectacularly in a very public manner, in a very Luis Suarez-like manner. And then, yeah, all right, we managed to rally and recover, and the media have turned it into, oh, we're panic buying. Media are going to say what they're going to say, because we kind of lose either way. If we didn't buy anyone, then we'd look incompetent. And if we did buy someone, it would look like a panic buy. So the panic buy headlines, I don't pay attention to them. It's a bunch of nonsense. But in terms of our strategy, that needs to be completely looked at. And that's a lot of the reason why I hope Wenger would leave, in my honest opinion. Forget the fact that I think he's run out of ideas and that he's stale and he's this, that, and the other. If for no other reason, just so that another manager, I'm hoping, would want to overhaul our recruitment strategy. And for that reason, that's why I kind of really want us for Wenger to move on. And apart from anything, no one wants, I don't care if you're the most passionate WOB, no one wants Wenger to be screamed at and have abused every single summer transfer window. The man's an old man, he doesn't need all this. The part of me just wishes he'd go just so he could stop being put through the mill by us as Arsenal fans. Because yes, we do demand and expect a lot. But having said that, do we, when we're constantly being dick teased with a title, only for us to always fall flat on our ass every single season? And there's no harm in saying, you know what, maybe I'm just not up to this anymore. Maybe I've taken this club as far as I can take him. That doesn't make him a bad manager. For me, that makes him a clever manager to know when his time is up. And I will be devastated, more so than an Arsenal not winning the league, more so than Arsenal not making the top four. I'll be honest, I will be utterly devastated if Wenger extends his contract this season. I think enough's enough. And hopefully this 100 million or close to 100 million he's spent, I think it's more like 89 million. I don't know why I keep saying 100 million. This money that he's spent, this excessive money for Wenger that he's spent, I'm hoping is a sign that this is Wenger's way of saying, all right, this is my last season. I'm going to go all out for this league. Now, I know most people's all out is a lot different to Wenger's, but let's cut him some slack. This is Arsene Wenger we're talking about. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess really, yes, I can only mark the the business we've done on paper, really. I guess we won't know how good these signings are until the season's over. But I don't know. I'm still hoping for one more, but then I know it's damn near impossible. What I'm hoping for is a striker. I don't think people are talking about Drax. I think that's too big of a signing to get over the line. I just feel like, not bony, but I feel like we need just one more striker, just in case the Perez thing does not work out. And in terms of loans and things that have gone out and exits that have gone out, I know that everybody was very disappointed with the Campbell departure, including yours truly. I rate Campbell very, very highly. I don't see what Wenger doesn't see in him. I don't get it. I don't get it. For me, I think he is such a good talent, and I have no idea what Wenger doesn't see in him. The only thing I can assume is that he thought that Gnabry would stay. But then I also know that his plan was to loan Gnabry out anyway. So it then makes even less sense to why he let Campbell go, knowing that he may want to let Gnabry go at least on loan. Now Gnabry, it looks like he's going on a permanent, or has gone by the time I record this, on a permanent. So it just seems like a shame. And I don't know, just judging by the comments from Wenger, I think he feels genuinely surprised and let down the fact that Gnabry doesn't want to stay at Arsenal. And I could understand why. You know, he has time with Gnabry, only for him to turn around and say, "Nah, I'm off." But that's the nature of the business. You need to plan for these abilities. This is what I need. You know, just because you show loyalty to players doesn't mean players will show loyalty to you. If Van Persie's deal hasn't taught you that, I don't know. I don't know what will. So that's the Campbell one, and then the Gnabry one, and then the Wilshere one, which, man, oh man, oh man, I got into a massive Twitter debate with Tom Canyon, who I respect a lot. He is a lot of the time on either Bergkamp Wonderland podcast or he's on the Gooner Talk podcast. Someone's opinion I do respect a lot. But me and him had polar opposites ideas on the Wilshere deal. I know was the Gooner as well. Also shares the same opinion as Tom. He was devastated at hearing the news that Jack Wilshere is going to be loaned. I know you guys want to know my opinion because I've had a couple of inbox messages already and tweets already about what do I feel like about the Jack Wilshere deal. For me, I think it's a good thing. I'm sorry to say it, I do. I feel like he needs to play football. And he's not playing. The thing is all these people that are arguing that, oh, Jack needs to stay, Jack needs to stay. Would you really start Jack now? Drop him for? You know, I've heard people say, oh, well, you know, Jack at his very best, they'd play him alongside Xhaka. Really? Would you play him alongside Xhaka? The guy has glass jaws, probably does have a glass jaw, glass ankles. You know, he, for whatever reason, has a horrendous injury record. You know, Diaby was also a fantastic player. But it's just a fact of life. If you can't get through a season, then you're not that much of an asset to us. You might as well go to another club, play out a season, and then see what happens. You know, I know there's a lot of talk that, you know, if he goes on loan, that it's likely he'll leave Arsenal for good. And I know a lot of people had ideas of seeing Jack with the captaincy armband. Let's not get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. You know, I love Jack Wilshere. if for no other reason, just for that Tottenham chant. I love Jack Wilshere. You know, he bleeds Arsenal. He's been with us since he was 9. I know he's a West Ham fan. I know he was a childhood West Ham fan. But he bleeds Arsenal. Let's be honest. And I get the reason why people are upset, but we can't keep the man for sentiment. And that is my argument. We cannot keep him for sentimental reasons. We have to really look at it and think to ourselves, all right, well, is he contributing to the team now? Or is it going to be a case of he gets into the team and then gets injured? You know? Some people are saying, oh, well, he could have played at Southampton. Could he have really played at Southampton? Or would you have played Coquelin next to him? Or would you have played Santi next to him? Or would you have played Ramsey, who, let's be honest, rightly or wrongly, and you guys know my feelings on Ramsey already, Wenger will play Ramsey ahead of Jack every time. Every time. So you have to really think about it. Think, well, where is Jack going to play? I hope this isn't the end of Jack's Arsenal career. I hope it's just a little stopgap, a little pause. But let's just call a spade here. He's not adding nothing to our team by being on the bench. And someone like Jack should be playing every single week. If for no other reason, just to prove he can get through a season. And yeah, it'll be a shame for whoever he goes to. Apparently, it's looking like Palace could be favourites. Apparently, Jack met both Alan Pardew and Eddie Howe from Bournemouth. Spoke to both of them yesterday and is expected to pick. And apparently, Palace are favourites. It's a bit of a turnaround, actually, because a couple of days when it was first announced, AC Milan were looking like the favourites, and that was a big surprise. But it's looking like Palace could be favourites now. Apparently had 22 loan offers. So it just shows you he's a good player when 22 loan offers are coming through for the man. But it just comes to a point where you have to say to yourself, all right, realistically, can we keep him? Now, I know a lot of people are saying, why we even get rid of players? You know, for this first time, we have an amazing squad of players that we could pick from. And part of me kind of agrees with that, but then part of me thinks, yeah, but we can't just keep Jack on the bench just for the sake of sentiment. Let's let him go and see if he can have a full season where he's injury-free and he's on top form. And then let him come back if indeed he wants to come back. And let's have it right, people. He asked, the way I understand it, he asked if he could go on loan. And Wenger said, oh, well, yeah, all right. You really want to? He asked to go on loan. So let's not give the old man abuse for this. I think it's a bold call, but I actually think this is one of the few Arsene Wenger decisions that I actually completely and utterly agree with. I think let the man go on loan and see what happens. I put a little recall clause on there. But I think whether it's 6 months or whether it's the whole season, let him go on loan. Let's see what he can do throughout the season of regularly playing football. And then hopefully next year, should he want to come back, he can continue his Arsenal career. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, personally. So we'll see if those deals get done. I mean, at the time of recording this, you know, I haven't got Sky. I've kind of paused Sky to do this. So for all I know, I'm talking, maybe Jack's already picked. But I will do another show later. I told you I'm going to come back, talk 2 more times today. I'm going to do one after I come back from the cinema just to get a little screenshot in terms of what has happened. So that'll probably be around 6 for you guys. And then also I'll do another show later on this afternoon, close to the transfer deadline. I'm going to see if I can get Robbie on board. I'm going to see if I can get Stel on board and just do a whole assessment of the transfer window for not just Arsenal, but for all clubs. So they'll probably be talking a lot about United and probably be talking a lot about Liverpool. But I think they're both very knowledgeable cats about football generally. Particularly Stal, my gosh, that guy knows everything from grassroots to Premier League. So, and he has his own podcast. If you've not checked it out, do a little Google stretch of Shoot the Defense. It's a good, proper educational stuff when it comes to the football side of things. So do have a listen to that. But yeah, I'll reach out to those two guys and see if they'd like to do a show around about 11 today. But anyway, guys, stay tuned. I will be back shortly. I hope I haven't rabbited too much. I know I'm close to about not far away from the hour mark with my video. I wasn't intending on going this long, I must admit. But I'm out this bitch. All right, take care. Peace.